Hello, everyone. This is Brandon Holt, minister of the Connect Church of Christ in Baytown, Texas. First time author of Preaching Under the Influence, A Minister's Struggle, which was released on yesterday. You can go to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and soon coming out on Kindle. We have been doing a broadcast over the last 3 to 4 weeks on the stages of change. And we really had some interesting discussion on the change process. How do I change? We started off with the Apostle Paul, and we went through certain phases of his life, and we'll pick up with him later on in the broadcast. I want to start off by sharing a story with you about these frogs. And I gave you a frog story last week, but here's another one. There were these frogs, and the frogs were hopping along the field, and they were all in line following each other. And one of the frogs, him and his buddy, said, let's go check out the other side because the grass looked greener on the other side. So they left the line and they went over to the other side, and they fell into a hole. And when they fell into a hole, they realized that they had made a mistake. And while they were in the hole, they looked at each other and said, okay, we have to do something about this. We can't stay in this hole. So they started jumping and jumping and jumping and jumping, and they could not get out of the hole. And so finally, while they were jumping, all of the other frogs, they came over to the hole and realized that their friends, their boys, were in the hole. And they surrounded the hole and they started talking, saying, you should have been paying attention. You should have listened to what we had to say. You shouldn't have left formation. Just give it up and die. You're not going to be any good. And so one frog believed that, and he ended up falling down and dying. But the other frog said, this can't be it for me. There has to be another way out. So he kept jumping, he kept jumping, he kept jumping to no avail. And the other frogs were saying, you're never going to make it. You're never going to make it. You can't do it. Just fall out and die like your friend. But he said, I'm determined to get out of this situation. So he said, this is my last chance to try to jump out of here. So he braced himself and he jumped and he made it out of the hole. And when he made it out of the hole, the frog said, what happened? How did you do it? And he said, I'm hearing impaired. I cannot hear. And when I saw your sign language and I saw you moving, you were motivating me to keep going, to keep jumping, keep jumping. So these frogs thought they were beating him down, but he was using that as inspiration and motivation to jump out of the hole. So how does that relate to the stages of change? Well, pre-contemplation is when I'm unaware, I'm not willing to change, kind of like I'm in denial. And the frogs, when they left the line, they fell into a place of not willing to change. They were in denial. And the contemplation is where you say to yourself, you know what, maybe I do have a problem. These frogs were in the hole and they said, hey, we've got a situation here. Preparation, technical, we've got to get out of here. Let's find some techniques. And so the frog said, let's start jumping. We got to jump. We got to find a way out. And then action is when one actually jumped out of the hole. Now, I want to kind of see, how does this relate to the Apostle Paul? Well, we looked at the Apostle Paul when he was in the pre-contemplation stage of change. He was persecuting the believers. He was persecuting the church. He was anti-Christ. He was a blasphemer. He was a violent man. He was unwilling to change. His goal was to wipe the name of Christ off of the face of the earth. That's pre-contemplation. And then he shifted into contemplation, which means, you know what, maybe I do have a problem, ambiguity. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I have a problem. I need to make this change, and I need to do it soon. So as you recall, he was heading to Damascus to continue his persecution of the believers, and that's where he came in contact with the Lord. And so the next stage we looked at last week was the preparation stage. You have pre-contemplation, I don't have a problem. Contemplation, maybe I do have a problem. Preparation stage of change is I'm determined to fix the problem. How do I do it? This is where he had to find a way to fix his problem. And remember, the Lord said, go to Damascus. Now, I know you were going to Damascus to persecute, but I want you to go to Damascus, and you're going to come in contact with a man named Ananias, and he's going to tell you what you need to do to be saved. So that's the preparation, is get ready to go to Damascus. Now, our fourth stage of change today is the action phase. The action phase simply means I'm changing. Remember, pre-contemplation, I don't have a problem. Contemplation, maybe I do. Preparation, I've got to fix this within the next 30 days, meaning I'm at a place where I'm about to make this change. Action is the actual changing process. His changing process was that he actually got up and went to Damascus. The scripture says, and the men who journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice but seeing no one. Then Saul, here it is, watch the action. Preparation, the Lord said, go. Action, then Saul arose from the ground, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no one, but they led him to the hand and brought him into Damascus, and there he was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor he drank. So the action phase was that he was actually changing. Now, how does this relate to me? How can we kind of incorporate this in our lives? I want you to think of an issue that you're dealing with right now. We all have issues. We have secret issues. We have known issues, unknown issues. What is your battle? What are you struggling with right now as you look at this change process? Pre-contemplation. Maybe you're in a pre-contemplative state with this issue, not willing to change, unwilling. You're not ready yet. Maybe contemplation. Contemplation is you are aware of the issue. You know you have an issue and you have diagnosed what that issue is. You're just not quite ready to change, but you do plan on changing. Let me say that again. You know what the issue is. You plan on changing. You're just not there yet. So in other words, within the next 6 months, you're going to deal with this issue. Now, maybe you've already navigated through pre-contemplation. Maybe you've already navigated through contemplation, and maybe now you are in the preparation stage. Brandon, I am in this stage where within the next 30 days, I'm making a major move. I'm making a move. I'm doing my research right now. I'm calling people. I'm online. I'm Googling. I'm reading material. I'm getting all of my techniques ready, because once I make this change, I don't plan on going back. So this change is happening in 30 days. Maybe that's where you are today. You're getting ready. And then maybe you're here and you are watching and you are in the action phase. The action phase of change is the changing process. Now, the action phase, we got to be really careful on this, because when I get to the action phase, that doesn't mean that I've already changed. It means that I'm changing. I have actually taken the steps to start the changing process. Now, the action phase is under 6 months. So you're working on this new behavior. You're working on this new lifestyle, and you've already started, but it's under 6 months. So when you're in the action phase, I want to encourage you not to think that you have already changed, because that's what we're going to look at next week in the maintenance phase. So I want to ask you and encourage you to tune in next week. This is the final, the conclusion of our series on the stages of change. Again, let me rehearse with you. Pre-contemplative, I don't have a problem. Contemplative, maybe I do. Preparation, I've got to do something about it within 30 days. Action, I'm actually changing now. How did the Apostle Paul change? He got up and he went to Damascus. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I hope that this podcast is encouraging to you as well as informative. Have a great day.